What's going on, guys? Welcome to another one of Black Iron's battles. We've got some more early access, Queen of the Crone, Total War, Warhammer 2, multiplayer action. And you can see there that I'm using the Beastmen as the Butchers of Kalkgengard stomp past. I'm facing off against Dahvplays over here. He's got the Dwarves with Karak Kadrin over there. He's got Ungrim Iron Fist and a Slayer army. So let's go ahead and show you first off what we've got here. We've got some of those new 30th anniversary Regiments Renown for you to show off. Right here in the back, you can see just some normal stuff. 3 groups of Ungor Spearmen herd. I figure we just try to buff up the armies or the numbers of our army and try to go as wide as we could. We've also got pretty normal, the old Bestor herd there to get their armor piercing. See there, they've got 40 armor piercing. They've got their normal melee attack. They've got pretty weak melee defense, but they make up for it with that 100 armor and just a huge number of models. I mean, they got 75, which is pretty good for elite infantry. But here in the middle, we'll go with those regiments renowned. The Korok's Man Rippers. So they are actually halberd infantry. So although they do have that armor piercing. So you see there, they've got 26 armor piercing damage. They've got 44 defense, 40 attack. They're actually, pretty just super strong. I really just, although there's no real large units on the dwarves, I wanted to get in and show them off. And so, you don't always have to go with the min-max pick. Here in the back, we've also got those Butchers of Kalkgengard. So you can see here, they've got those shields, silver shields. They've only got 45 armor, 12 units, but they're just massive. They've got 110 armor piercing weapon damage. They do terror, cause fear. I mean, 77 is armor piercing, yeah. But these guys are just nasty. So they can get in there. They can do some massive amounts of damage and quickly, too. I mean, they're just really hard to pin down. Here in the front lines, you can see we've got 2 groups of Gore Herd with shields, and the important thing is just to get some shields there against the dwarves for their, if they have any, thunders, rangers, quarrelers. They've got so many ranged options. You always kind of want somebody in the front to soak damage for those Bestigor Herd. Here you go, the Black Horns Ravagers. So look at, you can see, true to their name, look how cool they look. I mean, those are awesome. Those are Ungor Herd with shields. They also, but they also have Rowdy. So just like the Senegors, they have perfect vigor. So these guys are going to be fighting to the end. Obviously, they've got pretty good defense there with 47, and these guys are just going to hold up the line. You see, they've got 90 units, same as a normal group of gore herds, but their stats are just a lot better there on defense. You can see there, they've even got a little bit more armor, so pretty good. Here in the front for my lords, we've got the Bray Shaman of Beast, and I've got Wyson's Wild Form, which only costs 4, and so it'll trigger off that Wild Heart and allow you to get your plenty of mana to be able to summon. I want 2 of these summoned mana cores, so that's my goal. We've got the Jagged Dagger, and my whole goal is to get some Wyson's Wild Form, some Transformation of Kadon, and get those summoned mana cores. We've also got Khazrak the One Eye here. We haven't brought anything crazy, but we've got Apocalyptic Vision, and he's going to be just on top of his chariot in there. He's got 100 armor. He does armor piercing, anti-infantry, so these 2 guys on their chariots will be smashing through those dwarven lines. Since the dwarves don't have that tormentor sword anymore, it's a lot easier to get them with the mobile stuff like this. Like we've got these Senegors here with throwing axes, and you see we've put a couple of chevrons into them to give them a little bit better melee stats. They also got better leadership, but they've got that armor piercing. Mainly against the dwarves, you always want armor piercing, but when we take a look here at Dov's army, it's led by the Slayer King himself, and it is a Slayer army. So you can see here he's got that mohawk. Let's go ahead and show you the there you go. Look at that Red Ruin. So that's the new ability, plus 60% weapon damage and 60% armor piercing damage. So he does a ton of damage. It'll zap up to like 1,000 real quick. Minus 27 melee defense though, which since he only has 35, it leaves him with 7 defense. So it makes him pretty weak on defense at least. If you stack with the Axe of Dargo and Deadly Onslaught, though, you can get like 12 or 1,400 weapon damage. And since he's unbreakable and pretty cheap, Ungrim's a really good choice for a Dwarf Lord. You can see here, though, he's got a Slayer army, like I said. So he's got the Dragonback Slayers here in front, some regular Slayers. There we go. You can see them with their pirate pants. I just love those guys. They remind me of, like, dwarven pirates. We've got some Slayers over here, 2 more groups, so 4 groups of regular Slayers, and then he's got those new giant Slayers. So you see them there. Look at him staring at the camera. Oh my god, he's making an angry face. He's got the those great axes, so he's got 3 groups of those as well. And now, I don't know if you know know, in the lore, there's different ranks of Slayer. Giant Slayers are like second. So there's like Troll Slayers, Giant Slayers. The highest is a Dragon Slayer. And so there's, you know, these guys are buff. I mean, they're 1,200 gold for a unit, and they can do some major work. 50 melee attack. They've got armor piercing and a large, and they'll do some good work. Here in the back, you can take a look here. We've got a bunch of groups of these rangers. You see them with their shields on their back. These guys, they don't have armor piercing. They do alright missile damage, but they also can fight okay. So they'll hold up. I mean, only 26 melee defense, but with 40 armor, they're not terrible. They're actually, you know, 33 speed. So these rangers are a cheap, fun option to use instead of, you know, quarrelers or something like that. Because they do have stock, it's a lot harder to shoot them from range. Here in the back, we've got that cannon, and it's got 3 chevrons, and I think that's pretty much it. So it's just like 7 groups of Slayers, the Slayer King, and a ton of Rangers. So let's go ahead and get over here to my army. Let's go ahead and press start and see how this goes. So you can see right off the bat, because this unit's in front, oh man, he's going to matrix some cannonballs. And at the same time, we're going to go ahead and start bringing in these Senegors with throwing axes. Now the Senegors with throwing axes, because they do have armor piercing, but it's fine. So their weapon damage will work just fine, since Slayers don't have any armor. The armor piercing or not, they're gonna do just as much damage against these no armor units as they would against some armor units. So you can see here they're gonna toss some axes in, and if we take a look, those Slayers will actually die. I mean, they'll take a couple of losses, a couple of unit losses. You can see here a few have went down. And they'll, over time, they'll actually lose I mean, there we go. We've already got about a quarter of the health down with just a couple of volleys. Here in the front, you can see some volleys coming from those Rangers into my units. We've got our Bray Shaman here, and he's going to come by, and I'm going to start summoning that Manicore as soon as possible. Because I have this cannon here. It's actually, I think, taking a few shots at my units. So we want to get that Manicore summoned as soon as possible, right on. Oh, you see that? There's some cannonballs coming in, trying to kill those Butchers of Kalkgengard. But as soon as we can, we're going to get the Pharaoh Manicore right on top of that cannon. So if we can get as much of that summon value as we want, the Slayers are down to half health here, but we're taking a lot of hits, so let's go ahead and we're going to charge in here, get right on top of those Rangers. You see that charge bonus doing some pretty good damage, and we're also going to charge in with the Bray Shaman of Beast. You see the Manicore here right on top of the cannon, starting to tie it up, and whether or not it kills it, it will actually keep it from shooting. You see it's going to go Pharaoh. Over here in the back, we do have these Goreherd with shields, and here in the front we've got the there we go, those Blackhorns Ravagers. You can see them fighting against these Dragonback Slayers, and these Dragonback Slayers are taking some heavy hits. Since Korok's Man Rippers just got in there too, Dragonback Slayers are already down to half health. So that is the one thing about all Slayer armies, is that you've got to kill fast or be killed fast. But they are doing some major work as well. You can see it's we've already lost this right there. You can see we've lost the Pharaoh Manicore. Luckily for me, we did manage to shatter that cannon, so it was great value. We've got Khazrak and the Bray Shaman of Beast kind of stuck here, and they're taking some major damage by these Giant Slayers who are slinging those big axes at them. And you see there, we've lost more than half our health, but we have managed to get rid of a bunch of these Rangers. We've got some of these Senegors with throwing axes, shooting in, or throwing their axes in here from the flank, and they'll do some good work. If they're throwing in the flank of those Slayers, all those little axes, every little bit counts. At the same time, these Slayers are just starting to rout off. You see the Bray Shaman of Beast is routing off, and he's being chased by some angry Giant Slayers. Over here on the left, we have gotten in here with the Butchers of Kalkgengard, and we have managed to rout off some of those Rangers. And now our next goal is to get into this group of Rangers over here. So you can see them, they do have those silver shields, so they won't take as much damage. And you can watch here, we'll get a cinematic shot of them just slamming in there. And they're going to live up to their name when they're in a group of Rangers. I mean, those Butchers, oh my god, they're just cutting those guys to pieces. That group of Rangers was pretty much full, and now it's down below half health after that big charge. Over here on the left flank, you can see that the Ungor Spearmen are saturated in with the Bestigor, which is kind of exactly what we want. Since the Bestigor will do the major hits, we want the Ungor to also soak some of the hit from those Giant Slayers and allow both units to attack. Here in the back flank, you can see here those Dragonback Slayers are still fighting against those Blackhorn Ravagers, and I think the Blackhorn Ravagers are finally going to finish them off. So the Regiment of Renown getting in here and killing off the last of the Regiment of Renown of the Dwarves. You see there, I think it's the last Dragonback Slayer fighting for his life, but he is not going to last too much longer. And if you take a look over here on the flanks, we're also doing pretty well. We've got those Centaurs with throwing axes broken off. We've got some Rangers coming back, but at the same time, we've summoned another Feral Manticore. And when I summoned that, you saw the balance of power went pretty heavily in my favor. And so even though he has managed to rout off these Bestigor herd, we still do have some Ungor Spearmen herd left. But the moral of the story is, without the Tormentor Sword, it's very, very hard for the Dwarves, even with the Dragonback Slayers, to stop Chariot. So you see Khazrak here is just smashed right into these Rangers, and he's going to take them out no problem. At the same time, you see here we've got Ungrim completely surrounded the Slayer King, and he is going to have a cinematic battle here. You see he's fighting against that Feral Manticore. You can see all suits. You can see the Regiments are Renown in here. You can see there that we've got those. We've got the Man Rippers. We've got, I mean, everything. Pretty much, we've got summon. We've got pretty much everything you can get in here with that Summon Manticore. We've got, you know, Ungor Spearmen. We've got Bestigor. He is fighting to the end. The Slayer King jumps up in the air. We've got a roar from that Manticore, and that is pretty much that. You can see then the balance of power has pretty much gotten down to the finish line. And you know, we were not, I have to say for Dav, this is not like a fun, this was not like a competitive tournament or something. We were just having a good time messing around with fun new units. You see here that Khazrak is coming in here, being followed up by the Bestigor herd to kill the last of these giant slayers over here. I think there's like 11 of them left. Let's go ahead and take a look in here. You see just back and forth, Khazrak just racking up the kills. A few of those giant slayers, there's only 3 remaining. You see him just coming around here, and that is pretty much that. If you look across, there's just bodies, these piles and piles of bodies, and we were just really having a hard time, I think, taking down the Bestigor herd with those slayers, because they have all of that armor. You can see here the Butchers of Kalkgengard, 94 kills. They got it in the back, and they were really able to shut down the Rangers. I mean, Khazrak, 152 kills. I mean, without that Tormentor Sword, it is really a pretty big nerf to the Dwarves. Although they did give a slow rune to the Engineer, so I'm trying to see if there's some way to make that work. Check out my next game, I think, against Janet, where I did have been trying to use out the new Engineer skills. They're pretty good, but you know, that Tormentor Sword, it was what was able to stop before we were able to kind of hold down and punish those Chariots. Now the Dwarves are back to having a really hard time, and since we had the, what were they? Oh yeah, the Blackhorns Ravagers. Since we had them paired off against the Dragonback Slayers, I mean, you see there 56 kills, 52 kills, but, you know, our unit was a little bit cheaper. So these are 1150, so you did not want them to be fighting the whole time against these Regiment Renown. And since these guys are on, you know, they were in there, they were smacking the whole time. We were also able to kind of saturate with these Ungor Spearmen, and since the Slayers don't have any armor, even every hit from an Ungor Spearman or anything else was able to kill a Slayer. And you see here, I mean, he did get 500 kills, 134 on this group of giant Slayers, but really I think it was the fact that we were able to take that cannon out so early with that summoned Manticore. The fact we were able to get our Butchers of Kalkgengard into the back to kind of kill a bunch of Rangers, as well as the fact that both these Bray Shaman and Khazrak on their Chariots were able to get there in those back lines and just kind of run around at will. So overall, though, it was a great game to Dav. You see here, Ungrim, you saw him surrounded, fighting to the end, 46 kills, but he was not able to do it. All of those Slayers did huge damage to Khazrak, but I think real issue was just that those Dragonback Slayers got caught up, and they weren't able to get in there and apply that speed debuff to slow down the, to slow down the Chariots there. You saw the Rangers getting their shots in. But again, it was just for fun. We were having a good time, so I thought I'd show it off to you guys so you could see those giant slayers in action, see how they did against the various troops, and see some of these regiments of renown. So I want to thank you guys so much. Go ahead and check out Dav's channel if you haven't. He's a great guy. He's got really informational stuff over there. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. Check out my next game against Janet on occasion. I'm going to be bringing the dwarves and bringing the heat, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much. Please subscribe below for more great online content. This is Black Iron, and this has been another one of Black Iron's Battles.